Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Transfer Exchange Show. And today we've got something really special for you. Today we're here to talk about Scotland. We've got a Euro 2020 special, and with me I've got two friends and two really special guests. I've got David Weatherston, Norwegian expert, and former St Johnstone striker. How you doing, David? You all right?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. I'm good. And we've got Callum, interview extraordinaire from CFB. How you doing, Callum? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. Just as I said off air, and I know we'll come to it. The Gilmore news has deflated me. I was absolutely buzzing after Friday, but a wee bit deflated now.
Yeah. But the way the tournament's gone, I mean, it's. I dare say you're over the moon. You would have been well happy to go into the last game with the possibility of going through to the next round. We start with you, David. How do you feel that your tournament's gone so far?
Yeah, I've been pretty surprised by how well we've played. Generally, like if you looked at we played quite well against Serbia, but generally the games we played in qualifying, it was quite defensive football, sort of backs to the wall. But I thought against Czech Republic we played really well. We just didn't get the breaks. Lost. Patrick Schick scored two really good goals, and that can happen. We're at a major tournament. There's good players, and that can happen. And I thought we were quite unlucky in that game, but responded really well against England with a really good performance again. I think more than the result, I think the performance was very, very promising. Obviously, it was good to get a draw, which kept us alive for the final game. But yeah, very, very excited by how we've played, and going forward, there's a lot of young faces in the squad that are made their mark at the tournament, and it looks good for the future. Like hopefully we don't have to wait 23 years for another one.
Yeah. Are you confident going into the final game?
I think, the Scottish people are generally pretty confident before the inevitable collapse. But I think so. I don't think we've seen anything from Croatia that suggests they're quite the team they were 2-3 years ago.
A bit now.
Yeah, obviously they've got good players. I was just talking to some of my mates over here earlier at football training. Rebic, Perisic, Kovacic, Modric. I mean, we'd love all of them to be fair for Scotland. So they've still got a better team than us, I would say, on paper. But the way we've played, I'm confident that we can get a result, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you play like the way you did against England, I'm sure you're going to come out, and go into the Croatia game with a lot of confidence, and it could easily come out of a win. Callum, same question to you. I mean, how do you think the tournament's gone so far for Scotland?
I think the Czech game was disappointing, but at the same time, normally when a Scotland team loses 2-0, you would think, right, we'll be backs to the wall, we'll have been penned in our own half, and as David said, the inevitable comes, and you're doom and gloom after it. But even though we lost by 2 goals, obviously Schick scores the wonder goal, I still felt we created quite a lot. Robertson's chance in the first half, you think Henry hit the bar. Dykes had two or three chances, and he really should have taken one. So I think we definitely created in the Czech game. Obviously, the Schick goal, as I've mentioned already, was just a freak of nature. It was excellently taken. But if he was to hit that 10 times, he might score maybe 2 or 3 if I'm being really kind to him. It was one of those. So I came out of that game gutted we didn't get a point, but I felt slightly encouraged, I would say. And then obviously as the build-up came towards the England game, as David mentioned with qualifying, we'd been quite defensive, so I wanted to see Gilmore start. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought he'd have bossed the game the way he did, but I wanted to see him start. I was worried that Clark would maybe just be very cautious and sort of keep things as they were. Not blood a player like Gilmore into the game and would see how it went. But to be fair to Clark, I think he kept his faith in O'Donnell, which a lot of people questioned, myself included, and O'Donnell repaid him with a great performance, could have scored a great goal if it wasn't for Pickford, and Gilmore was the real star of the show for us. I thought he kept the ball well. He's always looking to go forward, which you could say in years gone by is very un-Scottish like. Normally there's that tendency to play it safe and obviously just dig in, but Gilmore's obviously a very proactive player, so I was very encouraged on Friday. I was delighted with the result. I was on a preview show on another platform, and before we finished, they said, "Oh, I think we'll win England 5 or 6-0." And that was my conclusion. I said, I think we could get a draw. I said, my heart says we'll win by 1 goal, and my head, to be honest, did say, I think we'll lose by 2, but I don't think we'll embarrass ourselves. And to get the draw and keep a clean sheet, I must be honest, Steve, I was absolutely delighted because I know Rio Ferdinand's getting a lot of stick, but he's not the only one. There was quite a lot of people and a lot of Scots as well that I don't think gave us a prayer on Friday. So to get a point and a clean sheet, I think is incredibly positive.
Yeah, I mean, in both games, I mean, you could have scored goals in both games, which is, that should give you, a lot of heart going into that third game to know that you can score goals and you can make chances. And against England, you certainly had your fair share and could have got 2 or 3. And you can see that it's not all about names, because what England try and do, they just whack a load of names on a team sheet and seem to want to play the best players. But no, for me, Scotland, just the team. Before we go on to England, which I'm sure you both want to have a good old talk about. What do you feel? I mean, David, would you change anything going into the Croatia game? Would you do anything differently from? I mean, obviously, terrible what's happened with Billy Gilmore. Now he's got to be replaced. Would you change the system, and who would you bring in for Billy Gilmore?
Yeah, I don't think we'll change the system. The system's worked quite well, especially against England. And I think what was quite good against England was that Kane doesn't occupy defenders anymore. So it essentially left Hanley with a free sort of role as a defender and to sweep up, and McTominay and Tierney never ever really got isolated the whole game, which was really helpful. So I think the system's worked quite well. It's a system we've been playing now for a wee while, and with McTominay dropping in there, I know he's not a great defender. I think we saw that in some of the qualifying games where he was a bit lacking a bit of awareness in the defensive situations. But
that
with the ball,
me where he was playing. It really confused me when I see the
lineup. With the ball, him and Tierney coming out with it gives us a real good base to build attacks from. So it's pretty useful. Stephen O'Donnell, as Callum said, it was the number 1 villain against the Czech Republic, and a lot of people were sort of clamouring to get him out of the team. I thought he was excellent, obviously, against England, and he's definitely going to keep his place, I think. So I think the only change is going to be Gilmore. I'd be tempted to play Turnbull. He played really well against the Netherlands in the friendly before the Euros, and he keeps the ball better than I think the other midfielders. So Turnbull would probably be my choice, but I don't think it will be the choice that Clark will go for. I think we're probably more likely to see Armstrong back in. But yeah, personally, I'd go for Turnbull, but I think that the rest of the team will stay the same. I think Dykes and Adams really worked well. Dykes, strong, holds the ball in. Che Adams busy, gets about, gets in behind, comes short. So it's a pretty good partnership we've got there. So yeah, I don't see there being any other changes unless it's a late injury, and hopefully Tierney, it's not Tierney, because we missed him in the first game. We missed his energy and aggression in the first game, and quality as well. So yeah, that's what I would do. Probably Turnbull, but I don't think that will be what Clark does.
Yeah, I mean, as an England supporter and as an Arsenal fan as well, watching Kieron and Tierney, it was funny because we were saying between amongst us that we'd actually seen a different Tierney playing for Scotland, because you could tell that he was playing with mates, with a team. Where at Arsenal, it's all messy, and he seems a little bit trying to do everything. But he seems so settled in a team against England that. And I see another side of him. He was excellent, along with Robinson and O'Donnell, and I think you've got to give a big shout out to Grant Handley, Callum. I mean, Championship defender. People were knocking him a little bit. People were saying, I'd seen him a few times in the Championship. I mean, what about his performance, Callum?
I think he's had a really strong tournament so far. I think, again, based on previous performances, and again, this might come back to the qualifying campaign where we have been really defensive. He's the sort of player that normally he'll head everything that comes his way, but he looks really nervous at times on the ball. And something that's always been levelled at him is he doesn't really have any pace. But in that first game against the Czechs, he had great recovery pace. Which,
I remember it. I was laughing.
Which was unbelievable. I think a lot of people were watching it thinking, this is a different player. This is somebody that's nicked his jersey. But no, he was really good in the first game, albeit obviously we had defeat. But I thought on Friday he was very good, and he's obviously a leader with Norwich, and I think getting a couple of years under your belt with the armband can only help a player, and he's definitely transferred that into the Scotland team. And getting into the tournament, if you ask me about that back three, they've said probably a bit nervous about him, but see, based on the first two games, he'd be one of the first names in the team sheet for me going into the Croatia game. And just to go on with also what David said with Turnbull, that would be my choice as well. I think I would keep it as is, and Turnbull's the closest thing to Gilmour that we have in that position, in my opinion. I think Gilmour is a better player. He's obviously played at a higher level, but I think Turnbull on the ball is very confident and likes to look forward, and that's what we need. Armstrong's good at breaking the lines, but I don't think he's got the same level of passing as Turnbull or Gilmour. So for me, Turnbull would be the natural fit to come in, but again, I echo David. I don't think Steve Clarke will put Turnbull in. I think he will go with a more experienced player, and Armstrong's probably the most likely shout. Although I have seen a few people maybe mention that John Fleck could come in for added defensive quality, but
not convinced with that.
That's not something I would be looking to do, in all honesty.
Yeah. Would he want to go for a bit more of an attacking player than Gilmour, or would he go a bit more defensive?
I think, as I say, naturally, with Clarke, you would think he would go more defensive, but I just think the system works so well against England. If you're going to have Tierney in the back three, you're going to have McTominay there and Hanley, then I think you can put a Turnbull in and give him a bit of licence to get forward and get on the ball, which obviously Gilmour was able to do on Friday. So I think it would make sense. And again, obviously he's paid a lot of money to be Scotland manager, and I'm just giving my opinion here, but that's what I would do. Obviously he sees them in training every day. He knows who he can trust, but I think Turnbull is the sort of player who would be relishing playing against Croatia. I don't think he would hide. He'd be looking to get on the ball and play his own game. He's that sort of player. Yeah,
I mean, I think we've already said that Croatia is as good as what they are, and they have got an age in defence. And I think with players like Robinson going down the flank and O'Donnell going down the other flank, I generally think you are going to cause them problem. But I have to give a big shout out to Grant Handley. I thought he was fantastic against England. I mean, you can't give him a bigger compliment than the fact that Harry Kane wasn't. You didn't even know he was there on the pitch. I mean, you see everywhere. I was looking Kane, and there was Handley. And Kane was just quiet. He didn't do a thing. It was just a little bit to do towards the service, but no.
The thing with Handley is as well, he doesn't need to do anything with the ball. All he needs to do is recycle it, give it to Tierney, give it to McTominay. Easy. That's easy for him. Like, he doesn't need to do anything more than that, and he can rely on Tierney, rely on McTominay to try and break the lines. So just needs to work. Just needs to concentrate on his defending. And the only time I can think of is one time he was isolated with Rashford, and he did really, really well in the second half. But apart from that, he didn't get isolated at all. And Hanley is, if you've seen him, which we all have, he's lacks a pace, and when he gets isolated, he can be a bit. He can be a bit in trouble. But I've been a big critic of Hanley's in the past. But I think he's been fantastic at this tournament, and it's been excellent, because we definitely need a centre half that's played like him, especially when we've got two sort of non-centre halves playing beside him.
Yeah. No, I mean, and he will be up against someone who's called is Rebic of Croatia, and he's basically awful. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of a nicer word to say about him, but he's absolutely awful, the 2 games that I've seen him play. So, but look, with regards to the England game, Callum, did you expect? Honestly, truthfully, did you expect that you were going to get a result out of that game?
Honestly, what I expected from the game, I said this to a few pals, I thought we would set up in a really defensive fashion. The fear that I had going into it is we'd concede within the first 10 or 15 minutes. We'd start chasing the game and we'd get caught out. I expected England to have a lot more in midfield than they showed. I know obviously Rice and Phillips are naturally more defensive players, but Phillips against Croatia was wanting to get forward. He was wanting to get on the ball. He was a nuisance for the full game. Whereas against us on Friday, I just felt both of them played it safe quite a lot, and that played into our hands, because the centre of the park for us is a really strong element of the team, and that's, and even with Gilmore being out, we're talking about maybe Turnbull coming in or someone else. We've got options in there, so. I just expected more from England, to be honest with you. Harry Kane, as David mentioned earlier, can he pin defenders the way he used to? Has he been shown that in recent times? No. Has he started this tournament well? Obviously, the answer to that is no as well. And what I was shocked about was the fact that O'Donnell was under pressure going into this game. I would have put Jack Grealish up against O'Donnell and just told him to run at him and really test him, whereas I felt he never really got tested too much defensively. I know John Stones had the great chance in the first half, but other than that, I don't really remember a time where I thought, oh my goodness, we've been absolutely cut open here, or we look really incredibly vulnerable. The Stones moment was obviously the moment of the game where we felt, oh my, this is going to end badly. But other than that, I felt we controlled most of the danger that came our way, and as I say, I think from my point of view, I just expected more from England. I know a lot of people in Scotland look at the English media hyping up players, etc., but it's no lie to say that England do have top quality players, and you think of someone like what baffles me is someone like Jadon Sancho got, I think it was 16 goals last year, 20 assists, and he doesn't even get onto the park, and he's got something that maybe a lot of players in our team don't have, and that's raw pace. He's an incredibly talented player as well. He's got nimble footwork. As I say, his stats show that he can score goals and assist. He's an elite footballer in many aspects, but when it comes to 70 minutes into a game, he's also got electric pace that can absolutely rip you apart. So I was shocked that he didn't get onto the park at all, and even more shocked that Southgate sort of talked about him maybe not being ready to play for the national team at a tournament like this, which I found very, very surprising.
It's crazy.
Yeah, just on that, I was thinking earlier, it's something that players won't take too kindly to, because it sounds like an excuse that is just made up, because I mean, he's clearly got the experience. He's played far more Champions League games than a lot of the squad, and yeah, I agree. I think Sancho, I'm absolutely terrified if Sancho comes up against one of our defenders. His feet are fantastic, but yeah, I found that a strange one, and I do wonder how that will sit with Sancho, and also with some of the other players who haven't played either.
It's not sat well with England fans as a whole. I mean, I felt that he's got both teams wrong in both games. There's been a lot of fuss about Raheem Sterling in the first game, but the first half he was absolutely awful. He seems to sort of run with the ball. He's very clumsy sometimes, and it just didn't work. I don't think you can play Mount and Foden together. I don't think it works. I think if you're playing Mount and Foden and Sterling together, it's like they're too samey. They're too the same. I do feel you need another striker on the pitch, because if Harry Kane's not scoring goals, then who's going to score them? Nobody. And that's more or less what happened. I feel that they need to put Rashford. Rashford in there.
The thing with Kane is, like, in the last 2 years, maybe even 18 months, he's really changed his game, like, noticeably. And it works a little bit with Spurs. Obviously had top scorer, top assister in the league this year. It works with them because they've got Son and Lucas running in behind. Totally different players. But if you play with Mount and Foden, like playing in those little areas that Kane's dropping into. So there's not enough space for Kane to drop into, because those two players are already there. Or vice versa, they're looking for the space and Kane's just standing there occupying it. I think you can play Kane with Sterling and maybe like Sancho and maybe even another striker, but I think you need to say to Kane, look, I don't want you out in the wing. I don't want, like, I think in the first half there was a time he was like taking a throw in on the left wing at the halfway line and like getting the ball back, and you're wondering, like, that's absolutely fine. Like, I'm absolutely delighted Kane's out there. The guy who scored over 20 goals in the league for 3 years in a row or something, and he's standing on the left wing. Hanley must be thinking, this is brilliant. I don't need to even mark him. Kane, if I was Southgate, I'd be saying to Kane, like, Kane's your top marksman. I'm saying, I don't need you in the wing. Drop deep during phase of play if you want, but don't just go in and stand there and occupy space, because that's not helping the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask what you think just in a second, Callum. But I think what Kane, as you said, you were spot on with Spurs. He can drop deep with Spurs, because then you'll get Bale and you'll get Son running in from behind, and he'll take the defender's hat with him, and then that causes havoc. With England, if he drops deep, there's no one running into the channel, so it looks like he's getting told to stay up there. What would you do with Kane, Callum? Do you agree with David, or do you do something different?
I think you definitely need to get more pace in and around them. Your shout of Rashford makes sense, or Sancho. I think you certainly need someone different in that three behind him. As you say, if he is going to pull deep, then you need someone going beyond him. And you've both summed it up with Foden and Mount. They both like to come and get on the ball and take touches and maybe play little 1-2s. That's what Kane's wanting to do as well. He's assisting the league last year, as well as the goals show that. So Rashford would make sense from the left, but maybe I'm contradicting myself, because I just think Grealish should be starting. I think he's that good. But as I say, I think you need to start one of Sancho or Rashford to give him that opportunity when he does drop deep, that he can play them in behind. And people forget, once he's played them in behind, that's when he can then make that late run into the box, which Frank Lampard was synonymous for many years, and get on the end of it, whether that's with a header or a volley or whatever it may be. And I think that's something that we've not seen from him at all. And I think Southgate, I find it interesting that he's decided to come out and back Kane to the absolute hilt publicly, but in a sense, really pin Sancho up for potential criticism or however you may see that. I found that part of management interesting. For me, it would make sense what he said with Sancho if he then starts him and basically said, look, I've said what I've got to say, go and prove me wrong. But if he said this about Sancho and he doesn't get on the pitch against the Czechs, I would be baffled by that, in all honesty, because as David said, you might get to a point where you've lost him, in the sense that he's thinking, I've played in the Champions League more, as you've said, more than most of the players in this team. I'm playing in the Bundesliga, which is a league which is of a really high standard. I know people talk about the fact Bayern have won it many years in the trot, but it's still a really high standard. It's always very closely run in terms of the European positions, and even German sides in Europe normally do perform quite well. Obviously, you get the odd year where it doesn't go as planned, but I just think it would make no sense for a Rashford or a Sancho to come in, because if you play that same way, Steve, there is no way you're getting the best out of Kane. Then you know what it's like. If England do go out early, then Kane might be the useful scapegoat, when really I think you'd be looking at the manager saying, you've kind of set him up to fail in many senses. You've had 2 games at it, it's not worked. you really need to change it now. That's what I would be taking from it, because we're all sitting here agreeing that what we're seeing isn't working from an England perspective. Yeah. Something has to change now.
Yeah, he's doing some strange decisions. I mean, nothing more stranger than, playing Kieron Trippier at left back when you've got probably two of the best left backs in European football sitting on the bench. I mean, could not work that one out. I didn't think Kieron Trippier had a good game anyway. So what was in his head then? I have no idea. But you're exactly right. He's got to get it right this time, because he'll end up. I think he'll get the sack if he don't start performing. And I'm one of these people that hates people, especially managers, getting the sack. But look, we're talking about Gareth Southgate, but the way Scotland have played so far in their first two games, I don't think it'd be fair. We should give a mention to Steve Clarke. I think a manager who's really been sort of underrated by a lot of people, doesn't get mentioned that often. Maybe it's his persona, and he's someone who don't come out in the press that often, and he just keeps himself to himself. But how important, David, is Steve Clarke to Scotland?
Yeah, I think when he got appointed, we were all pretty positive about it. He'd done a really good job at Kilmarnock that was sort of built on good defensive structure and being very, very organised, which was something that a national team, which is not full of stars like Scotland is, needed. So it took a little bit of time, and I think there was, we are very impatient up in Scotland with the managers, in fairness, but it did take a little bit of time to get going, and the first sort of signs, I mean, really, to be honest, the Serbia game was the first real sign that things were going in the right direction, because before that, the games at Israel, like, God, how many times we played against Israel and we've never been convincing against them. It was starting to get a bit worrying. But I think what's been really good is that he's had a lot of time with the team. We've never qualified for a major tournament, well, since 1998. So we've never had this period of time where a manager's been able to work with the players consistently for a couple of weeks. And I think it's really shown in the structure, especially against England. That I can't think of a time where England really played through us at all. Maybe once or twice. I think Mount had a chance in the first half. But apart from that, we just looked really well organised. We know what we're doing. Everyone knows their job. And I think that's what Steve Clarke was brought in for originally, because before that, managers previously to that didn't seem to get the structure right. But Clarke has definitely done that. And I think all the players are bought into it, which is obviously important. And just the first two games at the Euros, it looks a lot better, and that's a lot to do with Clarke. And hopefully we can just get over that line and get through a group for the first time in our history. That would be fantastic.
I mean, what I like about Steve Clarke, and all managers, but I've definitely seen it in Stephen Clarke, is that he does things that you're not too sure about. And he picks a team in a certain shape, and you're scratching your head, and then it comes off, and you think, well, I've watched football a long while. He knows what he's doing. I like that a lot, and he's done that. He's certainly done that in the England game. Callum, is Steve Clarke? Is he a man to take Scotland forward? Is he there just for a few years, just to take them through the tournament? What would you like to see happen?
I think there was maybe a knee-jerk reaction, as we're quite prone to here in Scotland after the Czech game. People saying, he picked the wrong team after this tournament, don't rush the new contract that's been muted for him, and really assess things after the tournament's finished. I think the England game certainly endeared him even more to many Scotland fans who were maybe slightly doubting him after the Czech game. I think the Croatia game is crucial in terms of performance. I think even if we go out on paper, if you said going into this tournament, do you think we'll beat Croatia to go through? probably most people would have said no, given Croatia's performances at the Euros so far. Strangely, and I could be wrong here, David might correct me, but I hate saying it, there seems to be a wee bit of expectation from some of the Scotland fans and pals that I speak to.
Just old enough to remember how it was going into the Morocco game.
We want expectation.
Going into the Morocco game in '98, that glimmer.
There seems to be that.
Yeah. It's there. It's definitely there.
There seems to be this real slight bit of expectation now, and I think if we can perform well, and I'm not going to go with a glorious failure. If we go out in a last-minute goal, I'll be absolutely fizzing and gutted. But I think people sense that there is a real opportunity here, and for our first tournament in 23 years, that's what we really wanted. We didn't want to come here, get beat off the Czechs, get beat 3-0 on Friday, and be thinking, right, we've just been there to wake up the numbers. I think we've got an opportunity now. That's key. As long as we don't embarrass ourselves against Croatia, which I don't think we will, in all honesty. I think most people would agree. Like, Steve Clarke's got us to the tournament. We've performed relatively well. Even if we don't get through, I think you still look at it and go, look, we've performed relatively well. Clean sheet against England at Wembley is a positive to take forward, and the players will be more mature the next time, hopefully. Hopefully, next time this comes around. I know people probably said this in '98.
Hopefully it'll be the same players, yeah.
But I think when you look at it that way, Clarke, for me, will definitely get a new contract. He's been mooted already.
Yeah.
I think after the tournament, they'll get it tied up. He'll be there for the rest of the World Cup qualifying campaign. I think he'll maybe try and take the team to the next Euros, and then obviously from there, I think after three sort of tournament type cycles, I think that's a natural time to look at it for an international manager, particularly when the tournaments are very short in terms of the distance between them due to COVID. So I think he'll get the World Cup qualifying campaign. I think getting to the Euros was the biggie, and then he'll get the next qualifying for the Euros. And if he gets us there again, then you never know. He might be tempted to say, look, I'm really enjoying this. Even longer term will stay. But as I say, I definitely will get a new deal, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, if you could go into the final game and you've got that expectation, I could see it in your eyes, lads. I could see it there. I could see that you think something might be happening. A bit of whose army was it? Someone's army. I forget what it was.
Ali's army. Yeah.
Those times they could be back, but. I'm an Englishman, but half of me really wants to watch would watch the Croatia-Scotland game tomorrow, because God, England, what you've got expectation is something that I haven't got. So enjoy that. Right, just before I ask you about the final big question, as David, anybody else who's impressed you so far in the tournament?
It's been a few teams, but I mean, Italy, I think, have probably been the most impressive. Just they seem to have everything at the moment. I know Mancini's been there for a wee while now, and seems to have got them playing really good football. They seem very organised, and I was saying this the other day to one of my friends, that they seem very clubby. They seem like they all know what they're doing. They're all very organised. They all really, really want to keep clean sheets and to win games. And to add on to that, at the back, they've got so much quality in midfield with Jorginho, Barella, Locatelli, and then up front, Insigne, Immobile, and Berardi. They seem to be all on the same wavelength. They all understand each other. I think they're going to be pretty hard to beat in the knockouts. Probably wouldn't have them as favourites, just because I think France still favourites, even though they've not quite hit the gears yet. But Italy for me have been the most impressive to watch. I think it's going to take a really good team to beat them.
Yeah. Callum, who's impressed you?
Italy have really impressed me. I would agree with everything David said there. I think they've been absolutely fantastic in the group, and I think the record is something like they've scored over 30 goals and they've not conceded since they've been on that run. So I think that's formidable getting into the knockout phase. I think the Netherlands have impressed me going forward, but defensively they've looked a wee bit all over the shop. France haven't really get going yet. So Italy are the team that have impressed me most. The team that I have to be honest and hold my hand up and say that have really disappointed me so far, I'd have to say Spain. I know, obviously, going into the tournament, quite a lot of Spanish journalists, Alvaro Romeo, Guillem Balaguer, and others were quite quick to make the point that it's a very different Spain team now to the Spanish teams that we've been maybe used to in the last sort of 10, 12 years. So it's important to recognise that. But the Sweden game in particular, I just thought they had so much possession, but they just never at times looked as if they were going to do an awful lot with it. And for me, I know it's harsh, I know he scored the other day, but Morata, for me, he just doesn't convince me. And I just don't think he's going to be enough the further they go in this tournament. And as I say, for a nation that's got a manager in Luis Enrique who's won a treble and is very highly regarded as a Barcelona manager and was as a player as well, I just don't think they're going to have enough to have any real dent in this tournament the longer it goes on, which I think is a shame because they are a side you normally are really looking forward to watch. But I must say, Pedri's one player I would signal out who I've enjoyed.
Yeah, no, Morata, I mean, I've spoken to a few Spanish journalists and a couple of players, funny enough, during the Euros, and apparently he's not liked. Apparently Morata's not liked in the squad, and he's just not fitting in. So, but he's not. He's a bit hard on him because the Spanish fans are sort of looking at him as, you know, I mean, they haven't got no Reals anymore, have they, or no David Villas in their side, and you know, Morata's never going to be, you know, on that type of height. But yeah, right. Just before we go, boys, the big question: are you going to beat Croatia? Are you going to go through an F? Are you going to go, David?
I mean,
that was too long a pause.
It's difficult. I don't want to build my hopes up too much, but yeah, I can see us nicking it.
Expectation in your eye.
I can see us nicking it 1-0. Yeah, I don't know. I think just Croatia will be favourites, and but we're at home. Obviously, it's not full at Hampden, but I can see us nicking it. And if we get through, I have no idea who will play. Probably some random group winner. I don't know how. I don't think it's even possible to know just now, is it? It just depends which third place teams go through. We'll make it hard for someone. But honestly, if we go through, it doesn't even matter. I think we'll just take that and enjoy. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I just how much I've enjoyed it. It's the first tournament for so many years that I've not had to. It's weird. It's like normally I won't go to a tournament and I'll actively support someone else than England. I've not even been that bothered about England like this year. Like I've watched the England game against. I watched it against Croatia, and I was like, I don't even care if they win because Scotland are there, so I've got Scotland this time, and I've really, it's just been so enjoyable to actually watch Scotland in a major tournament. I had my flag up outside my house here in Norway the other day, so that was nice to fly the saltire above above the house so everyone can see in the road on the way past. But yeah, just looking forward to it. Hopefully we can win. I think we could nick it. I'm not going to get my expectations too high though, but I'll be gutted if we don't. I know I will be.
He's Caleb's trying so hard not to go. Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to go and do it. He's got his flag outside his window. I can just imagine the scarves coming out everywhere. Oh dear. Right, Callum, come on. See if you can do better than that.
Hart says we're going to do it. We're going to go through by 1 goal. John McGinn will score the goal. I can just see John McGinn being that sort of player to come up with a big moment. However, being Scottish, been through this in terms of qualification campaigns in my lifetime. I say I'm 25, so this is the first tournament I've really had the chance to see. It was 3 the last time we got there. Head says we'll concede an early goal and we'll go out in a glorious manner where we'll make it 1-1 with 20 minutes to go and they'll pick us off in the break and win 3-1. But my heart, I'm telling you, Steve, My heart is saying we're doing it and we'll go through. As David said, if we go through, I don't think we'll go any further, and I don't think there'll be any expectation at all to go any further. I think that would just be such a monumental achievement. The first Scottish team to go through a knockout at a major tournament would be incredible. And that's something Steve Clarke talked about, how long will he stay on. If he does that, then I don't think anyone will be against him getting a new contract and getting it announced ASAP. So I think Hart says we'll do it by 1 goal. Head, I'm not too sure because I've sort of been here and done it before. Not at a tournament, albeit, but in qualification campaigns.
Well, you covered every scenario you two just then, but I understand it. It's. I dare say you're going to be hiding behind your sofas. I dare say every Scott's going to be hiding up behind their sofas. But I generally wish you win tomorrow. I really wish hope that you go through. I know you up in the borders wouldn't wish the other way round, but that's okay. That's all right. That's fine.
I mean, if England want to beat Czech Republic 6-0 tomorrow, that's fine as well. They can beat them 6-0, and then if we win, we go through second place. So that's absolutely fine if they want to do that.
I think it's a funny situation, really, because if the winners of the group end up playing France, Germany, or Portugal, and the people that finish second will play Spain, Poland, or the other team that finishes is in third
Slovakia,
So that's a weird thing to play with your mind. I think this is who Kieron's makeup just decided to pop in. He's just popped in the comment. Go with your heart. Go with your heart. Yeah. You'll hear him when we're doing England one. He's saying go with your heart. It's just the same.
Absolutely.
But no, look, I've already said, good luck to you tomorrow. I hope you win. I genuinely wish I could watch it. I'm a bit disappointed the games are both at the same time because I'd love to watch it and cheer them on. But maybe when we're in the last 16, I'll get to do that then, I'm sure. But David, thanks for joining me.
Nice one, Steve.
Been an absolute pleasure. Pleasure to have you on.
Maybe Kieron will join us next time.
Maybe Kieron, I don't know what he's doing. He's probably sitting there with his feet up watching the Dutch and Macedonia game. That's what he's doing. But I'm sure he will join us next time. Callum, as always, mate. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Give yourself a shout out, Callum, where you are, and if you've got the stage is yours.
So obviously you can follow me on Twitter at Callum CFB. I run Football CFB, which is at Football CFB. Interview coming this week with Mickey Thomas, who played for Wales, Manchester United, and scored the famous goal for Wrexham in the Cup. So that's one to look forward to.
Yeah, we all know who scored the goal for Wrexham with, don't we?
I was too scared to mention it.
I appreciate the coyness of not actually saying who it is. David, do you want to give yourself a quick shout out?
Just to say on Twitter, D Weatherston11 on there, and blogging about Eliteserien on davidweatherstonfootball.com. Just midway through, sort of a third of the way through the season in Norway over here. So if you're interested in Norwegian football, I'm going to try and keep you on top of it.
Yeah, I'd certainly recommend. When I knew David was coming on last time, the first thing I did was watch about 3 weeks of Norwegian football, and it's very good. I still haven't got all those questions across to you, David.
That's fine. Next time.
Next time, news football. Well, look, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be back on Wednesday, and then we'll be back on Sunday with the Euro 2020 weekly roundup of all the games, and hopefully we'll be talking about Scotland and their victory against Croatia. So until then, peace out, stay safe, and you know what Kieron always says, don't forget to wash your hands. Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.